The Art of Arguing. Chapter 1. The Daily Dance. You're completely wrong about this, Maya. Like, spectacularly wrong. Alex kicked a pebble down the sidewalk, his backpack bouncing with each emphatic step. Maya adjusted her perfectly organized binder against her chest and rolled her eyes. Oh, please. Just because you read one article about climate activism doesn't make you Greta Thunberg. Some of us actually think before we speak. And some of us actually feel before we think ourselves into paralysis, Alex shot back, running a hand through his perpetually messy brown hair. You can't solve everything with spreadsheets and 5-year plans. They'd been at this for 3 blocks already, and school was still 2 more away. Their argument had started when Alex mentioned wanting to organize a student walkout for environmental action, and Maya had immediately launched into all the reasons it wouldn't work. It was Tuesday, which meant by Alex's count they'd argued about climate change, the new lunch menu, whether Mr. Peterson's pop quiz was fair, and now back to climate change again. I don't solve things with spreadsheets, Maya said, stepping carefully around a crack in the sidewalk. I solve things with realistic planning. You know, that thing adults do? We're 17, Maya. We don't have to be adults yet. Some of us are already thinking about college applications and our futures. And some of us think there might not be a future if we don't act now. Behind them, their classmate Jordan caught up, earbuds dangling around his neck. Are you two seriously still going? You've been arguing since we left first period. Maya and Alex turned in unison, both looking slightly offended. We're having a discussion, Maya said primly. A very important discussion, Alex added with equal dignity. Jordan laughed. Right. A discussion. That's why half the hallway could hear you discussing whether pineapple belongs on pizza yesterday. He shook his head. I don't know how you two haven't killed each other yet. After Jordan veered off toward his own neighborhood, Maya and Alex fell back into step together, their argument resuming its familiar rhythm. You know what your problem is? Maya said as they approached the school's front steps. I'm sure you're about to tell me. Your problem is that you think passion is enough. You think if you just care about something hard enough, the universe will bend to make it happen. Alex stopped walking. And your problem is that you think caring isn't enough. You've got this whole system for everything, but you never ask yourself why any of it matters. They stared at each other for a moment, the morning sun catching the frustration in both their eyes. Then the first bell rang, and they both rushed inside, still muttering rebuttals under their breath. Chapter 2. The Routine. By lunch, they were debating the ethics of artificial intelligence. By chemistry class, they'd moved on to whether their teacher's demonstration was actually safe. Walking home, Alex was explaining why Maya's choice of electives was playing it safe to the point of self-sabotage, while Maya countered that Alex's schedule looked like academic chaos designed by someone who's allergic to planning. See you tomorrow, Maya called as they reached the corner where their paths split. Unfortunately, Alex called back, but he was almost smiling. Their friends had long since stopped trying to understand it. Chloe, Maya's lab partner, had asked once if they actually liked each other. Of course we like each other, Maya had said, looking genuinely confused by the question. We're best friends, but you argue constantly. So? Meanwhile, Alex's friend Marcus had been more direct. Dude, do you and Maya hate each other or what? What? No. Why would you think that? Because yesterday I watched you two have a 20-minute fight about whether cereal is soup. That's not fighting. That's debating. Maya had some really interesting points about broth versus milk as a base liquid. Marcus had just stared at him. The truth was, neither Maya nor Alex could imagine their days without their arguments. Maya looked forward to Alex's passionate outbursts because they challenged her to defend her carefully constructed worldview. Alex craved Maya's logical pushback because it forced him to refine his ideas beyond pure emotion. They'd been friends since 3rd grade, when Alex had gotten into trouble for disrupting class with an impromptu presentation about why homework was an infringement on childhood freedoms. and Maya had raised her hand to systematically dismantle his argument. Their teacher had been exasperated, but Alex had been delighted to find someone who engaged with his ideas seriously enough to argue with them. Years later, little had changed. Chapter 3. The Breaking Point. "You're being completely unreasonable," Maya said, her voice tighter than usual. They were standing in the hallway after school, and for once, other students were giving them a wide berth. I'm being unreasonable?" Alex's voice cracked slightly. "Maya, your solution to every problem is to make a pro and con list and then choose the safest option. That's not living, that's just existing." They were fighting about college applications. Maya had spent months researching schools, creating spreadsheets of requirements, safety schools, and dream schools. She'd crafted a perfectly balanced list designed to maximize her chances of getting into a good program while minimizing financial risk. Alex had decided that morning to apply to exactly one school, a small liberal arts college 3,000 miles away that he'd read about in a magazine article. It had an experimental program where students designed their own majors and spent a semester living in intentional communities around the world. "It's not about being safe," Maya said, clutching her perfectly organized college folder. "It's about being smart. Do you know what the acceptance rate is for that school? Do you know how much it costs? Do you have any backup plan at all?" "Why do I need a backup plan for my dreams?" "Because dreams don't pay for themselves. Because what happens if you don't get in? What happens if you do get in and you hate it? What happens if I actually end up happy?" Alex interrupted. "What happens if taking a risk actually works out? Did you ever consider that in all your careful planning?" Maya felt something crack open in her chest. "Of course I want you to be happy, but I also want you to be okay. I want to know that you'll have options and opportunities and—" "You want to control everything," Alex said quietly. "Even my life." The words hung between them like a physical barrier. Maya felt her face flush hot, then cold. "Fine," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Apply to your dream school. See if I care." "Fine." "Fine." Maya turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing too loudly in the suddenly quiet hallway. Alex watched her go, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Neither of them looked back. Chapter 4. The Silence. The next morning, Maya walked to school alone for the first time in years. The silence felt oppressive. She kept turning to make a comment about the weather, or the new construction on Main Street, or the way Mrs. Henderson's garden was already showing signs of spring, only to remember that Alex wasn't there. The walk felt twice as long without their usual debates to mark the time. At school, she found herself looking for his messy brown hair in every crowd, listening for his voice in every conversation. During lunch, she sat with Chloe and tried to focus on their discussion about the upcoming chemistry test. But her eyes kept drifting to the table where Alex usually sat with Marcus and the other guys from his art class. He was there, but he looked different somehow. Smaller. He was picking at his sandwich instead of gesticulating wildly while making some point about the cafeteria's sourcing ethics or the symbolic meaning behind the day's announcements. "You should just go talk to him," Chloe said, following her gaze. "We don't have anything to talk about," Maya replied. But even she didn't believe it. 3 tables away, Alex was having a similar conversation with Marcus. "This is stupid, man. You two have been friends forever." "Yeah, well, maybe that was the problem," Alex muttered, but his heart wasn't in it. He'd spent half the night staring at his ceiling, replaying their fight and trying to figure out when exactly their argument had stopped being about college and started being about something else entirely. The truth was, he missed her. He missed having someone who cared enough about his ideas to tell him when they were terrible. He missed the way Maya's face lit up when she was building a particularly solid counter-argument. He even missed losing arguments to her, because Maya never made him feel stupid for being wrong. She just made him want to be more right next time. But he also couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted in their fight. For the first time, it had felt personal in a way their arguments never had before. Maya's voice, when she'd said, "See if I care," had sounded almost hurt. Chapter 5. The Realization. A week passed. Then 2. Maya threw herself into college applications with renewed intensity, crafting essays and researching scholarship opportunities until her eyes burned. Alex started 3 different art projects and abandoned them all, spending his afternoons walking aimlessly around town instead of going home to face the silence of his room. Their friends tried intervening. Chloe cornered Alex after English class. "This is ridiculous. Maya's miserable. You're miserable. Just apologize." "For what? For having dreams?" "For being an idiot," Chloe said bluntly. "Do you know she hasn't made a single sarcastic comment in 2 weeks? It's unnatural. She's turning into some kind of robot person." Meanwhile, Marcus tried a different approach with Maya. "You know Alex applied to 3 more schools, right? Including state. He spent all weekend researching their programs." Maya looked up from her calculus homework, trying to seem disinterested. "Good for him. He also asked me what I thought about backup plans. Used your exact words." Despite herself, Maya felt something flutter in her chest. "Oh, look, I don't know what you two were fighting about, but Alex has been walking around like someone stole his puppy. And from what Chloe says, you're not doing much better." That afternoon, Maya found herself taking a longer route home, one that happened to pass by Alex's favorite coffee shop. She told herself she was just exploring alternative paths, conducting a practical experiment in commute optimization. She definitely wasn't hoping to see him. But when she spotted his familiar silhouette through the window, bent over what looked like a college brochure, her carefully constructed justifications crumbled. Before she could talk herself out of it, she pushed through the door. The bell chimed, and Alex looked up. Their eyes met across the small cafe, and for a moment, neither of them moved. "Hi," Maya said finally. "Hi," Alex replied. The silence stretched between them, but it felt different than the angry silence of their fight. This felt fragile, full of possibility. "Can I?" Maya gestured to the empty chair across from him. Alex nodded, quickly shuffling his papers into a messy pile. Maya sat down and immediately noticed the college brochures spread across the table. Not just the one for his dream school, but several others, including State University. "You're applying to more schools," she observed. Alex's cheeks reddened slightly. "Yeah, well, someone I know made some good points about backup plans." Maya felt her throat tighten. "Alex." "I'm sorry," they said simultaneously. Then both stopped. Then both laughed. A short, awkward sound that somehow broke the tension. "You first," Maya said. Alex ran his hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Maya's chest ache. "I'm sorry I said you wanted to control everything. That wasn't fair. You don't want to control things, you want to protect them. Protect me, I know that." Maya felt her eyes prick with tears she hadn't expected. "And I'm sorry I called your dreams unreasonable. They're not unreasonable. They're brave. I wish I could be more like that." "Are you kidding?" Alex leaned forward. "Maya, you're the bravest person I know. You're brave in a different way. You're brave enough to plan for the worst while still hoping for the best." That's incredible. They sat in silence for a moment, both processing this new understanding. "I missed arguing with you," Maya said quietly. "I missed losing arguments to you," Alex replied with a small smile. "You don't always lose." "I do when you're right," Maya laughed, and it sounded like music after 2 weeks of silence. "Well, I'm right a lot." "Yeah," Alex said, and his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. "You are." Chapter 6. The Shift. Things didn't go back to normal exactly. They still argued about movies and music, and whether their history teacher's assignment was actually educational or just busy work. But something had changed in the space between them. Maya found herself watching Alex more carefully as he spoke, noticing the way his hands moved when he was passionate about something, the way his eyes lit up when he was building toward a point. Alex, meanwhile, had started really listening to Maya's counter-arguments instead of just waiting for his turn to talk. And he was discovering that her logical approach often led to insights he never would have reached on his own. "You know," Maya said one afternoon as they walked home, "your idea about the student environmental group actually has merit, if we structured it right." Alex nearly tripped over his own feet. "Did Maya Chen just admit I had a good idea?" "Don't let it go to your head," Maya said, but she was smiling. "I said it had merit if structured right, which means research, proper planning, administrative approval. All the fun stuff," Alex said sarcastically, but he was smiling too. "It's not about fun, it's about effectiveness. Do you want to make a difference, or do you just want to feel like you're making a difference?" Alex stopped walking. "That's actually a really good question." Maya stopped too, surprised by his serious tone. "Oh, well, good." They looked at each other for a moment, and Maya became suddenly aware of how close they were standing, how Alex's eyes had flecks of gold in them that she'd never noticed before. "We could work on it together," Alex said quietly. "If you want, you could do the planning part, and I could do the inspiring people part." "The annoying people part, you mean?" "I prefer passionate advocacy," Maya laughed. "Of course you do." But she was already making mental notes about student organization requirements and environmental initiatives that had been successful at other schools. Working with Alex on something important, something they both cared about, sounded like the best idea either of them had had in weeks. Chapter 7. The Discovery. The environmental group project gave them a reason to spend even more time together, huddled over laptops in the library, or sprawled across Maya's bedroom floor, with research printouts spread around them like academic confetti. "Okay, so if we want to get the administration on board," Maya said, highlighter poised over a policy document, "we need to show them how this aligns with the school's existing sustainability goals." Alex looked up from where he was sketching logo ideas. "Did you know you bite your lip when you're concentrating?" Maya's highlighter froze mid-stroke. "What? You bite your lip? Right there?" Alex gestured vaguely at his own mouth. "You've been doing it for like 20 minutes. Maya's hand flew self-consciously to her lip. "I do not." "You do. It's—" Alex trailed off, seeming to realize what he was about to say. His cheeks flushed pink. "Never mind." "It's what?" Maya pressed, her heart doing something strange in her chest. "It's cute," Alex mumbled, looking back down at his sketches. The silence that followed was unlike any silence they'd ever shared. It wasn't the comfortable quiet of two people thinking, or the tense quiet of an impending argument. This was charged, electric, full of something neither of them knew how to name. Maya stared at Alex's bent head, at the way his hair fell across his forehead, at the careful concentration in his sketching. When had she started noticing these things? When had Alex, argumentative, messy, impractical Alex, started looking less like her best friend and more like, "We should get back to work," she said quickly. "Right. Yeah, work." Alex didn't look up from his sketches, but Maya could see the red creeping up his neck. They managed another hour of productivity, but the air between them felt different now, crackling with an awareness that hadn't been there before. Every accidental brush of their hands when reaching for the same document sent little shocks through Maya's system. Every time Alex looked at her, she felt like he was seeing something new. When Alex finally packed up to leave, they lingered at Maya's front door longer than usual. "This is going to be good," Alex said, holding up the folder of their research. "The group, I mean. We make a good team." "We do," Maya agreed, and meant it more than she'd ever meant anything. "I'll see you tomorrow?" "Of course. We always walk to school together." "Right, of course." But Alex didn't move to leave. and Maya didn't move to close the door. Alex? Yeah? I'm glad we're friends again. Something flickered across Alex's face. Disappointment? Relief? Maya couldn't tell. Me too, he said finally, and headed down the path. Maya watched him go, her hand still on the door handle, wondering why friends had felt like both the right word and completely inadequate. Chapter 8. The Tension. The next few weeks passed in a haze of heightened awareness. Maya found herself noticing everything about Alex. The way he gestured when he talked, the sound of his laugh, the fact that he always let her choose their walking route to school, even when he complained about it. Alex, meanwhile, was having his own revelations. He'd started really looking forward to their arguments, not because he enjoyed being contrary, but because he loved watching Maya's mind work. He loved the way she built her points methodically, the satisfied smile she got when she proved him wrong, the way she never made him feel stupid, even when she was clearly smarter. Their environmental group was taking shape beautifully, a perfect blend of Alex's passion and Maya's organization. They'd recruited 12 other students, gotten preliminary approval from the administration, and planned their first campus cleanup event. "This is incredible," Maya said, looking over their sign-up sheet during lunch. "We've got 43 people committed to the cleanup. See what happens when you combine your planning with my irresistible charm?" Alex grinned. "Your what now?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "My charm. You know, my natural ability to inspire and motivate." "Oh, please. Half these people signed up because I made a spreadsheet showing exactly how much impact we could have. And the other half signed up because I gave an impassioned speech about being the change we want to see, which you stole from Gandhi, which I adapted from Gandhi. There's a difference." They were leaning close together over the sign-up sheet, and Maya became suddenly aware of how Alex smelled like art supplies and that cedar soap his mom bought, and something else that was just uniquely him. "Maya?" "Hmm?" She looked up and found Alex's face much closer than she'd expected. Close enough to see the individual lashes framing his brown eyes, close enough to count the faint freckles across his nose that she'd never noticed before. "You're doing the lip thing again," Alex said softly. Maya's breath caught. "The what?" "Biting your lip. You always do it when you're thinking hard about something." "What am I thinking about?" The question slipped out before Maya could stop it. Alex's eyes dropped to her mouth, then back up to her eyes. "I don't know," he said quietly, "but I think about it a lot." "Think about what?" "What you're thinking about." They were definitely sitting too close now, leaning into each other's space in a way that had nothing to do with looking at sign-up sheets. Maya could feel her heart hammering against her ribs. "Maya, Alex," Chloe's voice cut through their bubble like a knife. "How's the environmental group coming?" They sprang apart so quickly that Alex knocked over his water bottle. Maya immediately busied herself with reorganizing papers that didn't need reorganizing. "Great," Maya said, her voice pitched higher than normal. "Really great. Very environmental." Chloe looked between them suspiciously. "Okay. Well, I just wanted to say I think it's awesome what you two are doing. You work really well together." After Chloe left, Maya and Alex sat in awkward silence for a moment. "We should probably—" Maya gestured vaguely at the cafeteria around them. "Yeah, probably." But neither of them moved, and when the bell rang, they walked to their next classes in a silence that felt completely different from any silence they'd shared before. Chapter 9. The Almost. The campus cleanup was scheduled for Saturday morning. Maya arrived early, as always, with printed check-in sheets and a detailed timeline for the event. Alex showed up 10 minutes later with a box of homemade brownies and enough enthusiasm to power a small city. "Your mom made brownies for our environmental cleanup?" Maya asked, trying not to think about how good Alex looked in his old jeans and flannel shirt. "I made brownies," Alex said, looking slightly offended. "I'm capable of baking, you know." "You made these?" Maya looked at the perfectly frosted squares with surprise. "Don't sound so shocked. I contain multitudes." "You contain what now?" Walt Whitman, I contain multitudes. It means I'm full of surprises. Maya bit into one of the brownies and her eyes widened. Oh my God, Alex, these are incredible. Really? Alex's face lit up like she'd just told him he'd won the lottery. Really? When did you learn to bake like this? My mom taught me when I was younger. I used to help her when she was stressed about work. I guess I kept practicing. Alex rubbed the back of his neck, looking embarrassed. It's kind of relaxing, actually. Very methodical. You'd probably like it. Maya felt something warm unfurl in her chest. The idea of Alex, impulsive and chaotic Alex, finding peace in the precise measurements and careful timing of baking, was somehow the most endearing thing she'd ever heard. Maybe you could teach me sometime, she said without thinking. Yeah? Alex's voice was soft. I'd like that. They looked at each other for a moment, the morning air crisp between them, and Maya felt that same electric awareness from the library crackling to life again. Then the other volunteers started arriving, and they fell into their roles. Maya with her clipboard and organized stations, Alex rallying people with jokes and encouragement. They worked together seamlessly, Maya's planning and Alex's energy combining to create something more effective than either could have managed alone. By noon, they'd filled 8 bags with trash, planted 24 native flowers in the courtyard, and recruited 6 more people for their ongoing initiatives. This was amazing, said Jessica, one of their volunteers, as she signed up for their next event. You two should run for student government together or something. You'd make a great team. After everyone else had left, Maya and Alex sat on the newly cleaned courtyard steps, sharing the last of the brownies and watching the afternoon sun slant across their work. We did good today, Alex said, nudging Maya's shoulder with his own. We did, Maya agreed. I can't believe how many people showed up. I can't believe how organized everything was. You had contingency plans for contingency plans. Someone has to think about what could go wrong, and someone has to believe everything will go right, Alex said, looking at her. That's why we work. Maya turned to meet his gaze, and suddenly the space between them felt charged again. Alex's eyes were warm in the afternoon light, focused on her face, like she was the only thing in the world worth looking at. Maya, Alex said quietly, and she could hear something changing in his voice. Yeah? Alex took a breath, leaning slightly closer. Maya, Alice! Marcus's voice carried across the courtyard as he approached with his girlfriend Sarah. Heard you guys killed it today. Alex pulled back quickly, running his hand through his hair in that familiar gesture. Maya felt like she'd been dunked in cold water. Yeah, Alex said, his voice carefully casual. It went really well. Maya managed to chat with Marcus and Sarah for a few minutes, but her mind was spinning. What had Alex been about to say? What had she been about to let him say? More importantly, what had she wanted him to say? Chapter 10. The Understanding. That night, Maya lay awake staring at her ceiling and trying to make sense of the knot of feelings in her chest. When had things changed between her and Alex? When had her best friend started making her heart race and her palms sweat? She thought about the way he'd looked at her that afternoon, the way his voice had gone soft when he'd said her name. She thought about his surprise brownies, about how he'd learned to bake as a way to comfort his mother, about the careful way he'd said he'd like to teach her. She thought about all their arguments over the years and realized that somewhere along the way, she'd started looking forward to them, not because she enjoyed being right, but because she enjoyed the way Alex challenged her to think differently. She loved how passionate he got about things he cared about. She loved that he cared enough about her opinions to fight for his own. She loved... Maya sat up in bed, her heart pounding. She was in love with Alex. Had been for who knew how long, maybe years, disguised as friendship and arguments and the comfortable rhythm of their daily walks to school. The realization should have terrified her. Maya didn't do uncertain things, and love was the most uncertain thing in the world. But instead of fear, she felt a strange sense of rightness, like a puzzle piece finally clicking into place. 3 houses away, Alex was having his own moment of clarity. He'd been pacing his room for an hour, replaying the almost conversation from that afternoon, and trying to figure out what he'd been about to say. The truth was, he'd been about to tell Maya he thought he was falling in love with her. The words had been right there, balanced on the tip of his tongue, terrifying and perfect and true. Because that's what this feeling was. This new awareness that made every interaction with Maya feel charged with possibility. It wasn't just friendship anymore. Hadn't been for weeks, maybe months. Every argument they'd ever had been a form of flirtation he'd been too young to recognize. Every time he'd tried to convince her of something, he'd really been trying to impress her. Every time she'd proven him wrong, he'd fallen a little more in love with her brilliant, methodical mind. Alex stopped pacing and looked out at his window in the direction of Maya's house. Tomorrow, they would walk to school together like always, probably arguing about something ridiculous by the second block. But now he knew what he wanted to say to her, what he'd been trying to say all afternoon. The question was whether he'd be brave enough to say it. Chapter 11. The Confession. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzling, the kind of weather that usually made Maya want to stay in bed with a book and a cup of tea. But she found herself up early, changing her outfit 3 times and checking her reflection more than usual. She was standing at the corner where she and Alex always met, fidgeting with her umbrella when she saw him approaching. He looked like he hadn't slept much either, his hair more disheveled than usual, his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. "Morning," Maya said as he reached her. "Morning," Alex replied, and they fell into step together automatically. They walked in silence for half a block, which was unusual enough to feel strange. Maya kept glancing at Alex, trying to read his expression, while Alex seemed to be having some kind of internal debate. "Maya," Alex said finally, just as Maya said, "Alex?" They stopped walking and looked at each other. "You first," Alex said, though his voice sounded tight with nerves. Maya took a deep breath, her heart hammering against her ribs. She'd planned out what she wanted to say, had organized her thoughts into logical points like she did for everything else important. But looking at Alex now, at his familiar face made strange by the context of her new feelings, all her careful planning evaporated. "I think I'm in love with you," she said in a rush. Alex's eyes went wide. "What?" "I know it's crazy," Maya continued, the words tumbling out faster now. "I know it changes everything, and it's probably a terrible idea, because what if it doesn't work out and we ruin our friendship? But I can't stop thinking about it, and I realized that all our arguing, it's not really arguing, it's flirting," Alex said quietly. Maya stopped talking and stared at him. "What? It's flirting? All our arguments, all these years? We've been flirting with each other, and I was too stupid to realize it." They stood there in the drizzle, looking at each other with something like wonder. "So when I said I think I'm in love with you," Maya began. "I was about to say the same thing," Alex finished. "Actually, I was about to say it on Saturday, before Marcus showed up." Maya laughed, a sound somewhere between relief and hysteria. "We're idiots!" "Complete idiots," Alex agreed, stepping closer to her. "But we're idiots who are in love with each other. So that's something." "That's something," Maya repeated softly. They were standing very close now, close enough that Maya could see raindrops caught in Alex's eyelashes, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body, despite the cool morning air. "Maya?" Alex's voice was barely above a whisper. "Yeah? Can I kiss you? Because I've been thinking about it for weeks, and if I don't do it soon, I think I might actually explode." Maya's answer was to rise up on her toes and press her lips to his. The kiss was soft and tentative at first, both of them trying to figure out this new way of being with each other. But then Alex's arms came up to circle Maya's waist, and Maya's hands fisted in the front of his jacket. And suddenly, the kiss deepened into something urgent and sweet and perfect. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alex rested his forehead against Maya's. "Wow," he said. "Yeah," Maya agreed. "Wow." They might have stood there all morning, wrapped up in each other and the revelation of their feelings. But the school bell rang in the distance, reminding them that the rest of the world still existed. "We're going to be late," Maya said, though she made no move to step away from Alex. "Worth it," Alex said, pressing another quick kiss to her lips. "We still need to talk about this," Maya said as they finally started walking again, her hand firmly clasped in Alex's. "About what this means, how we want to handle it, what we tell people." "Maya?" "Yeah? Can we maybe have one morning where we don't plan everything to death? Can we just see what happens?" Maya looked at Alex, her best friend, her favorite person to argue with, and now something wonderful and new, and felt herself smiling. "Yeah," she said. "We can see what happens." Chapter 12. The New Normal. "You're holding hands," Chloe observed at lunch, looking back and forth between Maya and Alex with undisguised curiosity. "Very observant," Maya said, not letting go of Alex's hand despite the attention they were drawing. "Since when do you two hold hands?" "Since this morning," Alex said cheerfully. "Right around the time we figured out we're in love with each other." Marcus, who had been taking a drink of his soda, choked. "I'm sorry, what?" "We're dating now," Maya explained with the same tone she might use to discuss a change in lunch menu. "It's new." "Dating?" Jessica leaned over from the next table. "You and Alex are dating?" "Apparently, everyone's going to have an opinion about this," Alex murmured to Maya. "Did you think they wouldn't?" Maya asked. "We've been joined at the hip for 3 years. Everyone's going to notice when we add hand-holding and kissing to the mix." "Kissing?" Chloe's voice went up an octave. Maya blushed, but Alex just grinned. "Lots of kissing. Maya's really good at it. Very thorough. Very organized." "Oh my God, stop talking," Maya said, burying her face in her free hand. But despite her embarrassment, she was smiling. The transition from best friends to something more had been surprisingly easy once they'd gotten past the initial confession. They still argued that very morning they'd debated the merits of different coffee shops for a full 10 minutes, but now their arguments ended with Alex kissing the frustrated frown off Maya's face, or Maya pulling Alex closer when he got particularly animated about something. "I can't believe you two finally figured it out," Marcus said, shaking his head. "Sarah and I had a bet going about how long it would take." "You bet on us?" Alex asked. "Everyone bet on you," Sarah said, appearing at Marcus's shoulder. "The general consensus was that you were both too stubborn to admit you had feelings for each other." "We're not stubborn," Maya protested. "We're careful." "You're stubborn," Alex said fondly, squeezing her hand. "But so am I. So it works out." "This is so weird," Chloe said, but she was smiling. "Good weird, but weird. Are you still going to argue about everything?" Maya and Alex looked at each other and grinned. "Obviously," Maya said. "It's who we are," Alex added. "Though now Maya lets me win sometimes, I do not let you win. When you win, it's because you actually made a good point." "See?" Alex looked around the table triumphantly. "She admits I make good points now." "I've always admitted when you made good points," Maya protested. "I just pointed out when you didn't make good points, which was most of the time." "And there they go," Marcus said fondly, watching them fall back into their familiar rhythm. But there was something different about their argument now, something softer around the edges. When Maya rolled her eyes at Alex's dramatic gesturing, there was affection in it. When Alex countered her points, he was looking at her like she was the most fascinating person in the world. "It's actually kind of cute," Sarah said quietly to Chloe, in a weird, argumentative way. Epilogue. 6 months later. "You're putting too much flour in," Maya said, looking over Alex's shoulder as he worked at the kitchen counter. "I'm following the recipe exactly," Alex replied, not pausing in his measuring. "The recipe that you wrote down from memory because you were too stubborn to let me print out the actual recipe from the internet. My mom's brownie recipe doesn't need to be improved by some random food blogger, Alex said with dignity. Maya reached around him to check the measurement, her arms circling his waist from behind. Okay, you're right. That's the correct amount of flour. I'm sorry. What was that? Alex turned in her arms, grinning. Did Maya Chen just admit I was right about something? Don't let it go to your head, Maya said, but she was smiling as she reached up to dust a bit of flour off his cheek. Too late. I'm calling everyone. Maya admitted I was right. This is going in the official record. What official record? The official record of all the times you've been wrong, which I'm starting today, right now, with this moment. Maya laughed and kissed him, tasting sugar and possibility and the future they were building together, one argument at a time. You know what? She said against his lips. What? I love arguing with you. Good, Alex said, spinning her around the kitchen as she laughed. Because I love losing arguments to you. You don't always lose. I do when you're right, Alex said, echoing the conversation that had started everything 6 months ago. And you're right about a lot of things. Not everything, Maya said, thinking about all the ways Alex had changed her life. All the times his impulsive ideas had led to something wonderful. All the dreams he'd convinced her were worth chasing. No, Alex agreed, pulling her close again. But the important things. Like us. Maya kissed him again, surrounded by the smell of brownies baking and the sound of rain starting to fall outside, and thought that for once in her life, she didn't need to plan what came next. She had Alex. She had their arguments. And she had the rest of their lives to figure out everything else. It was more than enough.